Hey everyone, Shaleia
And Jeff.
and Jeff. And today I'm talking about ego in a twin flame union. And the first piece I want to start off with is talking about ego so that we are all on the same page. There's a lot of people with different definitions of ego and even from a psychological definition and standpoint and yada yada yada. But from a spiritual perspective, what ego is a fundamental core belief in separation from the divine or God or source or the higher power or whatever. You know what I mean? You know, the creator essentially. And here's the really important piece that I want to begin with is that if we are created as perfect children of God, how could we be created with an ego? It just doesn't make sense. We were not created with an ego. God did not create an ego. Actually, in spiritual truth, God doesn't even know what an ego is, because if God were to even acknowledge ego, then it would make it real. It would make it truthful. And God only sees and acknowledges what is true. And because we are also powerful co-creators and creators, we are able to create things like the ego, the belief in separation from God. Thus, that becomes our experience. Because our mind is so incredibly powerful, we haven't even tapped into the vast, expansive powers and abilities that our mind has. But you know, Jesus was a really good living example of someone who lived within the divine mind and utilized the divine mind by syncing his mind up with the divine mind like perfectly. You know, and Jesus, in the Bible, Jesus never says that we have an ego. Like, he never says we're created with an ego, because we're not. And I want to relay a conversation that I personally had with Jesus about 6 to 9 months ago, somewhere in that time frame. I was brushing my teeth, and sometimes I'll have conversations with the masters, and this one was with Jesus, because brushing my teeth is like a meditation for me. And hopefully when I don't gag, then it's a meditation. When I'm not gagging, I don't know, my reflex is sometimes off. Anyways, don't need to get into that. So I asked Jesus, what is the biggest lie that I tell myself? And Jesus said, you believe you have an ego. And I stopped brushing my teeth. I'm like, my God, he's right. I do, but don't I? Because I get angry, I get upset, I'll yell at Jeff. I'll think, in the past I've had murderous thoughts about people that just made me cringe. And, I don't know, it was just like, everyone's had really nasty thoughts. But what I realize is that when you are someone that doesn't have an ego, like Eckhart Tolle talks about himself not having an ego, and I think people believe that if you have no ego, then you're like Eckhart Tolle, someone who's like, mama, 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 mama. I mean, I love Eckhart, okay? I've read many of his books, took the New Earth course with him and Oprah, and I really do love and admire his work. But I think that's what I personally believed for a long time, that if I have no ego, then I'm going to look and sound like Eckhart Tolle. But that's not true. I'm just being my full true self as a child of God. We're not meant to be the same expression. We're all unique expressions. Mm-hmm. But going back to my point is that one of the main issues that people experience, whether they're in their twin flame union or not in their twin flame union, especially if you're not in your twin flame union, Somewhere it's quite possible, 99% possible, that you have a belief in separation, and that's why you're not with your twin flame. I know, because I was that person, you know, and I have been closing the gap before Jeff and I met, and after Jeff and I met, I've been closing the gap on the belief that I had an ego, because my desire to be aligned to the divine mind and to always be in my my divine self is huge, and always has been really huge. So our beliefs are extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. Whatever you believe in, you give power to it, and that becomes your experience. If you believe that you are separate from God, then you will experience a reality in existence that appears to be separate from God. But mind you, that's just an illusion, because in spiritual truth, we can never be separate from God. You can only have the belief, the idea that you are, but you can't ever leave, and you can't ever return. You're always with God. It's an indistinguishable connection. So go ahead and try. I mean, you can dim the light, but you can never extinguish it. And so when we apply this to the twin flame union, a lot of people I've come across, and I think even myself in the past, before I was with Jeff, had this belief that you had to be at a certain spiritual level of awareness, almost like some kind of spiritual elitism or authority, or like a spiritual reward for being with your twin flame, and that essentially you had no ego, or you barely have an ego, or whatever. And I just want to say that's a myth. It's not true. You can be you can be choosing the deep end of the ego. I mean, you're always, if you're choosing ego, even if it's just a little bit, if you're always choosing fear and you're never serving love, I mean, then you serve all of fear. Anyways, my point is that you can still be in your ego and yet still be in your twin flame union, because of the desire in your heart for union.
Because of the choice you make.
Because of the choice you make and your desire. And then when you're with your twin flame and you haven't resolved this belief in separation, then you're going to experience a lot of upsets based on separation in your union, right? So I mean, this could come up with like someone having severe abandonment issues in their union and kind of goes a little overboard and like creeps on their man all the time, or their woman all the time, or I don't know, I'm just making up an example, I don't know, right? But that's just I'm just saying that could be one way that it manifests, but it can manifest in a plethora of ways. So I just want to state that I don't have an ego, and Jeff doesn't have an ego. Neither of us have an ego. We don't experience separation from God at all, at any time. And we don't experience separation within our union because we don't believe in separation. And it doesn't mean that we don't get angry or upset or sad, like I mentioned. It just means those are the emotions that are coming up to be purified, because we have been running the old program in the past. And because there is so much energy behind the belief, it's just only, like I said, it's only within the last 6 to 9 months that I completely eradicated this belief that I had an ego. And I'm like 30 years old. So I have like 30 years of like this energy of believing that I have an ego that is being, that's running its course. But I just want to mention this to you guys so that you can start thinking about and plant that seed about that you don't have an ego, because you were never created with an ego. Ego is an illusionary belief that you are separate from God, and this is why a lot of people experience depression for instance, or bipolar, or a lot of physical and mental diseases, because it's usually based on some sort of separation from love, separation from source, from our Mother, Father, God. So when you clear this belief of separation in yourself, you're going to automatically experience a very different and wonderful kind of union, whether you're in it or not. If you're not in your union and you eradicate this belief in separation and start acknowledging to yourself, start admitting to yourself that I don't have an ego, and believe that you don't have an ego. Really, believe that you don't, and then you don't, because you don't. You weren't created with an ego. And when you do, you're either going to get into your union so fast, lickety split, your head's going to spin, because you're going to that place where you're already one with your twin flame, because there's no belief in separation. So by law of attraction, you have to be with your twin flame. Or if you're with your twin flame and you eradicate this belief, you're going to experience a harmonious union, which is ultimately what you desire. Because if you don't experience a harmonious union, you're not truly living your heaven on earth. You haven't fully mastered your twin flame union, which is what we're all working toward, is a mastered state of being within our union. So, did you want to add anything before I...
No, I feel like you really hit it on the head.
Yeah. Jeff's my mascot. I had a feeling it was going to be mostly me just chattering away and talking about it, but that's okay.
Well, I enjoy listening to you, speak just as much as anyone.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions or comments about this discussion that we're talking about, please say something in the comments and reach out, because I love talking about spiritual topics and issues and twin flames, and it's just really cool. That's what we're coming here together to do. So don't forget to check like and subscribe, and we'll see you in other videos.
Thank you.
Thank you.